See, I said something earlier about pulling a person's credit. And when we look at the credit, quote unquote, is supposed to tell us your history, how you pay, when you pay, are you going to pay? Well, same thing in terms of going out here electing officials. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to have served in a position. Don't look at them like that, but you better look at what do they really offer. And there's a core
like that
to each of us. There's a core being to each of us. So whether we've ever been elected for an office or not, look at the core of the person. Look at the man and the woman. It doesn't matter what color skin he or she is in. What matters is what they stand for. And what do they do when no one's looking? That's what counts.
Yes.
Hey everybody, welcome to KROSS BARZ, the podcast where we discuss interesting topics with alternative perspective. I am your host, co-host, Big O. Having with me today.
Hey, you got Jay Tanae in the building with our special guest, Dr. Sharon Middlebrooks. Give it up for her. Thank you, Dr. Sharon. But we're going to call you Sharon today on the podcast. So glad that you joined us. You know, we're looking forward to this conversation. So, Big O, I know you got some questions on the tip of your tongue.
Thank you. So, Sharon, do they call you Sharon, like with the U, or Sharon, like from up north, like my name is Sharon.
Like literals of Sharon. Sharon.
Oh no. That's what's up. We started off live. He said Sharon. The Sharon.
Like Tarjay.
Absolutely.
That's when I make my money. That'll be the name change.
Sharon. Yes, that's absolutely. So now, Sharon, what is our perspective? Now we're talking to you. You're a doctor. You're from Texas, and on top of that, you're an activist. So my question is, all right, let's start from the beginning. All right, because we're gonna get there. Let's start from the beginning. So you were originally from where?
Tyler, Texas.
Oh my goodness.
Texas.
All
Yes.
right.
Tyler,
Okay.
Texas.
Okay. Tyler, Texas. So growing up in Tyler, Texas, tell me about your upbringing, your parents, maybe siblings. How was it?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say thank you guys to KROSS BARZ for having me here today. I really do appreciate this opportunity more than you know. KROSS BARZ.
Thank you.
KROSS BARZ, there you go.
Okay, KROSS BARZ. I said K for a reason, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. No, just kidding.
Okay.
But KROSS BARZ. But I am originally from Tyler. I am the youngest of 5 daughters. My dad was a minister, so I grew up under a Baptist minister.
Okay.
I attended school there. All of my matriculation was there in Tyler for the most part, at least grade school up through high school, and then on to college, junior college there. But it was fun growing up in Tyler. I grew up in a little community known as St. Louis Community.
So Tyler, Texas,
Tyler,
the community. Texas. So the community is called St. Louis. That had to be very extraordinary when you go out of town. Like, I'm from St. Louis. No, Tyler.
No, try this. I'll tell you something funny about that. In growing, I was talking to this guy I was dating once back home. And I told him, he says, well, where do you live? And I said, St. Louis. And he said, you know what? I like you, but I'm not about to drive all the way to St. Louis.
He thought he had some miles to go.
No, listen. Yeah, listen. So now you're the youngest of 5 daughters. So I would assume that your father was trying for a boy, and he just said, "Father, just too much." Because I have 3 daughters, and as I'm just being honest. I don't know what happened.
I think at some point he just said, "Forget it," okay? Because 5 of us already And you know, they always say, they tease and say, well, it takes more of a man to make a daughter than it does.
Thank you. All right. That's what we
Ooh,
gonna
okay,
go with.
How about
that's a good
that?
bars.
Bars.
You in good company.
He
Yeah.
happy. You made his day.
Yeah. Because you know,
But,
listen, it was telling us that the father must have been a real dog. And I was like, I don't think I was that bad. You
no,
know, but I'm like, all right.
no. But being the youngest of 5 daughters, it was like being at home alone though, because I'm 10 years younger than the knee baby, as they would say, the one that I'm next to. And
Mhm.
from that sibling up, they're all 4 years apart. So by the time I came along, they were all grown and leaving home. So that left me home alone.
So you're not even, those like your sisters, those like your aunties. Like they a little too far.
She had 4 mamas. She had 5
Yeah.
mamas.
Like,
Everybody
man.
tell you what to do, right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
no, actually, the roles are reversed. I would tell them what to do.
Oh,
To get that opportunity as the youngest. But I do recall my brother-in-law, my sister, my oldest sister, her husband said, I thought you was Raythel's daughter, because everywhere we go, she always had you on her hip. And he said, wasn't until I came
Yeah.
to the house and Miss Jordan said, no, this is my baby. Raythel did not have her.
Wow.
So yeah, there was that big age difference, anywhere 18 years apart. So yeah.
Okay. So growing up, you're a minister's daughter.
Mhm.
You attended school, any sports or activities that you were a standout in? Because Texas is known for their athleticism. Were you any type of athlete, or you was like, I'm a church going young lady?
Well, yeah, I was drugged. Now, let's just be very clear about that. I was drugged because I was drugged to church 7 days a week.
That sounds like me. I know all about that one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Every day. Something
So-
late night cleaning, church dinners, all of that.
Choir
You name
rehearsal,
it, BTU,
YP day. Oh, yeah.
Ursha. All you need is
Ursha.
a black skirt and a white shirt. Come
And a
on,
white
kid.
shirt. Say it. Bars.
Got you,
Hey,
bars.
bars on that one. Black skirt and a white shirt. That's everything.
Absolutely.
Usher choir.
Wait a minute. If you're a young
Missionary.
lady, she had to have the gloves though, right? Y'all didn't wear
Had some
gloves?
white
No.
gloves.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You
no,
had
I
to have white
couldn't do
gloves.
gloves.
Listen, man.
I
y'all-
had the lace ones and the cotton ones.
Oh, so you had the communion.
I only
cotton.
wear gloves on Easter. I can't do the gloves.
Okay. So
But,
now,
in junior high, I I guess I participated in what was known as broad jump. I used to love to broad jump.
track.
And then I became more involved with jazz and twirling. And so then I went on to become a majorette in junior high school. And after that, I did the drill team in high school.
Okay.
Okay. And in college, I thought I wanted to be an Apache Bell, but their schedule was so grueling. I did not want to do all of those practices.
I have a
Mhm.
question. I have a question.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir.
Did your father have any issues with the attire?
Did he? My mom was a seamstress. So you know my skirts came down, but
Oh, okay. She made some adjustments because I was like, wait a minute. I know, like personally,
That's
some
funny.
girls that was really in it, that was like, I can't go because I can't be a maid. I can't do it because my dad won't let me wear that.
but by then my dad had passed on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh.
I lost my dad when I was 13. And
Oh,
so
that's
needless to
good.
say, that took its toll on me because being the youngest, I was
Mhm.
definitely a daddy's baby. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we went through all of that.
Okay. So now you're going to high school and
Yes.
it's your mom and you pretty much. Your sisters are much older. So they're
Exactly.
in their 20s.
Exactly.
You know, they're grown. So now it's you and your mom against the world. And what college did you attend?
I went to Tyler Junior College there in Tyler, Texas during that time when my mom was living. And I played intramural sports that are known as basketball. I
Okay.
tried to be a center.
Okay.
Right?
This is crazy.
Let me read
This is
mine.
great.
She tried everything.
Like-
That's right. She's well rounded.
See,
She tried
and
a
this
little
is
bit of
right now. I'm
everything.
sitting there like, wait a minute. You play basketball and a center. Okay, all right. Okay, so you played college intramural basketball, probably played center. Did you win any games? Let's just be honest.
And went that out. And look, didn't even stay an athlete too long on the basketball team. That was
Okay.
too
Too much
much
running for
I
me.
wanted to try it, just you have
Right.
to try a few things, come out of your comfort zone.
Good
So
job.
the twirling was my thing. I preferred the majorettes and the
Gotcha.
twirling. Yes.
Girly girl. That's what
And
I say,
you know, when
girly
you're
girl.
and when you talk about Tyler, Texas, there are several like celebrities and people that came out of
Correct.
Tyler,
And
Texas that I didn't
very,
even know about. Like Johnny Mathis. I didn't know he came out of Tyler, Texas. Sissy Spacek, McConaughey is his name. McConaughey, I think.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, it's in there too. So I mean, you got some
Well,
going on there. I
and
didn't
you
know
went
that.
all the way over there. How about the Earl Campbells of the world?
Yeah,
Okay. And Tim and Steve.
yeah,
They're right up out of Tyler. But back in the day, we had a saying for Tyler because Tyler had quite a few of the oil barons there. It had the old money in Tyler. So it was like Tyler being as small as it was, it actually had more millionaires per capita than city of Dallas. And Dallas was
All
much
right,
larger.
Tyler.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a
So
good
that-
place to be from.
Okay.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Yes,
From.
you did. From.
Okay.
Yeah, a good place to be
Means
from.
you there and then you go.
Okay.
Yes.
So what were some of the challenges, okay, if you would like to elaborate, being from Tyler? Because Texas is different. Any
I
challenges?
can't really say that there were any challenges, any different than anywhere else. What I can say, because the community in which I grew up in, we were a family. And when I say a family, it contributes itself back to how they say it takes a village to raise a child. Where we had that village syndrome. And so not only were we chastised by our parents, but our neighbors chastised us, if you will. And so you would get in trouble by them. And by the time you get home, they've already phoned ahead and told your mom what it is that you've done. And so now you get chastised twice, if you will. So I came from humble beginnings, is what I like to think. And I always find myself thanking God from having been from Tyler, because Tyler certainly instilled within me core values that I am very appreciative of, even from the church, the camaraderie at school. And as I stated earlier, I didn't have siblings at home with me, but the children that were in the community, that was my extended family. And so I enjoy going back home to be with my family, my extended family.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was there any sibling that you had that, made the road a little easier for you, or did they make it more difficult? Like, you know what, that's Sharon, that's Tanya's little sister. She's gonna be something. Was any of your older siblings a little harsh? So when you came through, you had to clean it up, or you were like, you know what, I'm going to be the model because we all are on the same, epilogue. We're at the same projection.
Well, I can't say that I had to clean up anything.
Okay.
What I
Yeah,
can
those
say
sisters.
is, that's that Middlebrooks girl.
Okay.
So that's not a popular name, if you will. So when you say that's that Middlebrooks girl, then that was that Middlebrooks girl, because there was only 5 of us there. So though we had relatives there in Tyler, they were outside of Tyler, not on the inner city part of it. And we were the family that was inner city.
Okay, I'm trying to read that because you kind of made a little cryptic. So is that Middlebrooks girl like oh yeah, they Sadiddy, or that's like, you know what, they
Well,
find
that's that
all the-
preacher's daughter.
Well, the preacher's
Okay?
daughter. Yes, I was about to
Let
say her
us
dad
not-
was a preacher. So it's like,
Yeah, that's that
them the
preacher's
Middlebrooks.
daughter.
I get it. I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
You know, my dad says he ruled with a heavy hand. You know, you may not be the smartest kid at school, but you'll certainly be the most disciplined kid at school. You know, you could come home with whatever you needed to come home with, but never come home with anything less than an S as
Okay.
satisfactory on that conduct. So
Okay.
that's what I meant when I said
Gotcha.
about they would say, oh, that's that Middlebrooks girl. you know.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was going somewhere totally different, but thank
I
God you
see,
cleared
Big
that up.
O.
Come on. Oh,
Yeah,
come on.
I
Oh.
see. But now
Come on,
remember, my sister's 10 years and older, 10 to
Absolutely.
18. So whatever they knew about them by the time I came along, they had probably already forgotten.
Got
Thank
about
God.
it.
Okay, thank God. All right, so now Tyler Junior College, and then did you go to college from there, or you said, this is enough for me, I'm going into my own business, or you said, nah, I'm gonna keep going?
No, I didn't. I actually went and did a quick stint at the Army at Fort Hood. Didn't like that because I am a spoiled child. My mom had health issues, so that was an easy way to get out. I didn't stay at the Army. I went in thinking I wanted to do something with communications, which was known was your MOS, where it was
Mhm.
13 cars come. And so I stayed for a short stint there at Fort Hood, Texas. Then I came back to Dallas. Then there's Northwood University.
Mhm.
And that was much later. I did things in terms of earning my degrees by receiving credits for what I have done over the years that would help me reduce the time that I would have to stay in the classroom.
Gotcha.
I received credit for life experiences, if you will, in addition to the schooling.
Gotcha. Now my question becomes, how did you feel about when they had the mass shooting there at Fort Hood? Did you have like, man, thank God I got out, or like, man, I know some of those individuals, because that was a traumatic situation for our entire country?
Well, I didn't have any relationship back then because that was more recent than the
Right.
tenure when I was there. I was there back in the late 70s,
Mhm.
okay, early 80s. So, but my heart went out simply because lives had been taken.
Mhm.
I'm going to say all too soon, and for the reasoning that they were taken. I have issues, as most people would. I don't think we should take something we can't give back. And life is certainly one of those things. You know, once you take it, you can't give it back. So to that degree, I would say I had remorse, you know.
Okay.
I felt sad about that. Mhm.
All right. So now you actually leave the military. Your mom was having health issues. It's like, I can't do it. They telling me to get up, run, and screaming at me. And you said, I'm out of here.
There you go.
So,
I'm out.
yeah. So what did you do next as far as for money, occupation, or direction?
Well, let's see, that's been a long time ago. So I went back home first, and then I decided, well, after you've left home and you've been gone for a little while, then you kind of want to stay grown and, you know, stay gone, I guess you might say. And at that time, my 4 siblings, 3 of them were here. And my other sister.
Here, where? You said here.
Here in Dallas. I'm
Okay.
sorry, was here in Dallas. So quite naturally, I wanted to get up here and be with my sisters and their families, which was something I had longed for as a child growing up. Though I had the extended family, I didn't have that blood family, so to speak. And so I remember when I was home and there attending TJC, I even said to my sister, not the one that I'm next to, but the one that's 14 years my elder. And I said to her, I said, you know, all of the kids here, they have brothers and sisters they can go places with. I don't have nobody to go no place with. I can't even go to the club with nobody. And so my sister that lived here in Dallas, I'll never forget this. I cried to her on the phone, telling her that conversation. That evening, to my surprise, she showed up in our driveway and she was like, Shay, come on. I said, come on, what? She said, come on, I'm gonna take you to the club. I said, what, you are? She said, yeah, I drove down here just to do that for you. I was like, really?
Okay.
I felt really special, you know, that she had carved out that kind of time out of her day because she was doing PI work, private investigative work back then.
Yeah.
And so for her to take time out of her schedule to come and hang out with her little sister just so she could have someone that was special to me, you know.
Okay.
That
So
was
now you're home, you want to be in Dallas. So what are you doing in Dallas as far as an occupation?
well, for occupational purposes, I am a real estate broker. Okay. And I've been involved in real estate since 83. I've been a broker, I would say, since 2000 and about 2000. So I've been a broker for about 20 years, 22 years.
Okay, so question, what is the difference between a broker and an agent?
Right.
I'm thinking they're the same thing. Can you explain?
No, actually, when you're an agent / realtor, that's how you come into the field. Back before I received my broker's license, one had to be a practicing agent realtor for at least 2 years and would have accumulated some 900 hours prior to being able to sit down to take their broker's exam. So realtors, we work for the broker, if you will, by way of contracting, all right? And we're the sponsors of the realtors, or realtists is what realtor is.
So is a broker similar to an agency?
Yes,
Okay.
most definitely.
So
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
because
like,
you're
you can open your own. Could you open your own agency if once you get your broker?
Correct. It requires a broker's license in order to open up. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you had to be the broker, because see, you could you could have another broker sponsor that corporation or company for you, and you as a realtor, you work there. If that makes sense to you.
That sounds like hustling backwards. Like, you know, I'm going to work for somebody that I'm going to make them more money but I can bring in a lot of clients per se.
Well, the structure has changed so much over the years. It becomes very competitive because there are more franchises that are opening. And so you try to come up with different reasons, skills, policies as to how you can attract the realtors over to you and your brokerage. Back in the day, they had, I won't say set fees, what have you, but the structure, how much you had to pay to that broker or that brokerage for being able to hang your license in their office makes a difference. But over the years, because there are so many offices or brokers out there, so competitive, it's kind of watered down, if you will. Not to say the responsibilities or the accountability, but certainly from a competitive standpoint. You just have to be creative. I think somewhere KROSS BARZ say that. And I like that because KROSS BARZ says that, you know, they do the critical thing. They turn your thinking down so that you can be reprogrammed or you can think about it from a different way. And, you know, that really spoke volume to me when I read that about KROSS BARZ and from the critical standpoint, because if I look at today's society, there are so many things that I would say, if you could just get inside of an individual's mind, you would really have to break it all the way down to the lowest particle to start over again so that you can rebuild something even stronger or better, or just giving a person a different insight. You know, you can have the same way of thinking or go about life moving the same way that you miss out because you didn't try something different.
Okay.
You know, it's like this is 2022, and in spite of the pandemic, what I've noted is, I think this is what I would say, reset time. You know, when you think about people, the number of people that have lost their jobs, or the number of corporations that have closed, you know, nobody but God, because sometimes we become so comfortable in our way of doing things that he has to push us out the nest for us to understand how much we've grown, or what else is within us that we can go now and be more service to someone else.
Absolutely.
Or to the community, if you will.
So now
I love that.
You're a realtor, and then later on you become a broker. So now tell me, what is the landscape for a Black female realtor in Texas?
What is the what?
What is the landscape for you during this time period? Because you're talking about
I can't hear you.
Yeah,
I can't hear me?
No.
See,
Yeah, you sound kind of low.
Okay, so
He's putting his Mac voice on.
Definitely not that.
He's trying to get a little sultry.
So now, what is the landscape for a Black female realtor in Dallas, Texas in the early 80s? Like, walk us through that. Is that something like, no, they were looking at me? Because for me, I've always heard Houston, Texas, that's where all the real estate was at, as far as African Americans was concerned. Dallas, didn't hear too much about Dallas, just pretty much, you know, football, you know, old people, oil barons around there. But as far as African American people of color, you want to be in Houston. So now tell me, what is the landscape for you? Dallas, Texas, and you're a newly licensed realtor and you're finding your way. What is that like?
Well, I was fortunate, I would say, because the brokerage that I was with happened to have been the largest African American brokerage here in the city of Dallas during that time frame. So I was able to receive the training that I needed in order to prepare me to be out here today for myself. But it didn't come immediately, because after that, I went to another broker. I worked with a different broker. But what I want to park here for a minute, because I'm a realtor, all right? And realtors, that's the National Association, or we used to say NAR, but it's NAR, National Association of Realtors. I'm also known as a realtist. Now, being a realtist, yeah, see, got your attention. The National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which was founded in 1947, is the oldest trade organization. And it was an organization that was started by 11 men and 1 woman in Tampa, Florida. One of those men having been A. Maceo Smith, who was also here in Dallas and had served as the director for the U.S. Department of HUD. That being said, it being NAACP came about because it was a time when our counterparts didn't want us selling real estate.
Correct.
Okay. And so it was born out of necessity. And I'm happy to say that I'm still a member of NAACP, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We're in NAACP under the leadership then, Miss Evelyn Reeves and several others. She was the first, Evelyn Reeves was the first Black female to have served as the president for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and she hails out of LA, California. So, but NAACP was very instrumental, along with NAACP, in terms of working with President Johnson Congress would have you to establish 1965 voters' rights.
Okay. So
So NAACP, though we are in real estate, we have a saying, our motto, our mission is democracy in housing. That's been since day one, and we continue to advocate for the democracy in housing, because as we know, we as a people, we being Black people and people of color, we are confronted with a lot more hurdles than, let's say, our counterparts or other persuasions when it comes to purchasing real estate. And especially if I just look at today, in today's society, with the kids that go to school, it's our children that come out of school with all of this college debt. And so when you look at purchasing a home and how they look at your credit, and then we look at the debt to income ratio, well, by the time they add these student loans into your ratio, you can't even
afford a house.
But there are so many hurdles there that we continue to advocate for, and or for the people, if you will, so that people of color can be able to purchase homes. And so, you know, I recently dealt with a young lady on a transaction, was trying to get her in a house. She had been renting this house for like 18 years, the same property. So it's really a story of a person that comes into life one way and improve his or her life, looking for that American dream, building family wealth, if you will, wealth for the children to be able to leave a legacy. Now, the young lady came in initially 18, 20 years ago. She was on housing. So she graduated from housing, and she continued to put herself through school, so much so that she received a master's degree. Okay. And she was a single mom with 4 children. Okay. So now she's ready to purchase this home, but she settled down with all this debt from attaining an MBA. Now, the sad thing is, because when she went through this particular program, wherein you could receive grant monies to help you purchase a home, it's what we would consider to be a forgivable. It's a forgivable after, I think hers was
3 or 5 years.
No. Okay. It's normally 3 to 5 years. Okay. Yeah. But with hers, it was like 20 years. Okay. So she would have to work for a county, a particular type employer, so that after a period of time, then it would be forgiven.
Yeah, like teachers.
Now here you are with over $100,000 in student debt. Okay. That has to be included within your debt to income ratio. But yet, you don't have to pay this money back so long as you stay with a particular job. And I want to say it's 10 years. And so she was like at year 6. So she had 4 more to go, but they wouldn't even, the programs would not allow them to prorate. Unlike with the other grant programs that you were just speaking of, Big O, where in the 3 to 5 years, correct, you know, you stay 5, if you didn't stay the complete 5 years, they were prorated from year 1 to year 5, and then they would write that part off and you pay the difference, but not in this program. And so the thing that I'm so confounded with here is because the income isn't commensurate, if you will, with the debt.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. And so you're talking about a debt to income ratio. We've done this young lady a disservice.
Very much so. It's like some
Yeah,
college
yeah.
programs. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so I think it's important that, again, we advocate and with our legislators, because student loans, I mean, how is it that other countries, that you want to go to school, you go to school, but you're not having to pay all of these debt, school loans
For the rest of your life, pretty
for the
much.
rest of your life.
Some
so to
people with
speak.
30, 40 years still
Yeah.
paying student loans.
Exactly. More so than the home itself.
It was crazy.
Wow.
that our
And so
former
one of the
president-
things that I applaud the county for now, or here in Dallas, you can now, as a high school student, you can also receive your 2-year college degree, an AA. You can go to school to obtain your AA degree while you are working on your high school diploma. So by the
Yeah,
time you graduate,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, my niece is doing that in Atlanta right now. She is working on her associate's degree. She's 9th grade, but she's already working on that. So by the time she finishes, she will have an associate's degree. Not offered everywhere,
exactly.
Not even here where I'm at in West Virginia. Not happening here. But
It's happening
it's
here
good
in
that they
Charlotte,
do
so we
have
good.
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
And see, I think that's something, again, that we should be advocating for, because who does that make? It makes a better life for our students, if you will, because it's twofold. They walk away from high school not only with a diploma, but as well as their associate's degree. More importantly, they don't have that debt that they have to consider. Unlike when you wait till you graduate, then you go to
Mhm.
junior college, it may not be as much depending on where you go, but I think every penny, a
Absolutely.
penny makes a nickel makes
Yeah,
a dime.
absolutely. So I have several questions. I wanted to let you go and speak that, but it was some things that was burning up. So as a broker and realtor, how do you deal with a person who has a home and they have the clause where you can't sell to a particular race of people or demographic of a person? Because I've heard that in several stories in history. So like it's almost similar to redlining, but that's more like business. So
Well, that was
now,
on deeds.
correct,
That's
on
in
deeds, you
deed
couldn't-
restrictions
correct,
and,
deed restrictions.
earlier deed restrictions. But again, we know that you can no longer discriminate on a person based upon race, creed, color, familiar, family.
Yeah,
You
background.
can know, yeah, you can't do all of that anymore.
Why they would do that to what? Keep a neighborhood a certain
Yes.
race or certain value. Wow.
Well, I can't say value, because see, when you talk about
Well,
value, well, no, because there was a
I'm talking
family,
about like
a
the
Black
value of a
family.
home. They think that you know what I mean. You're not carrying your lawn, caring for your home, and it brings down the value of,
Well, but that's still happening. It's what we would call systemic, okay? Systemic. It's just a different form of redlining, which is why you end up with these various programs that come from the banks. Think about it. You have all these banks that are in our neighborhood. They're collecting our monies on Sundays. Well, Mondays, after the Sunday collection plates have been passed around. Right. But then when you go to some of these same institutions that ask for a loan, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. So we put our monies in, but we can't take them out.
Gotcha.
We can't receive a
Greenwood
loan.
Bank.
So,
Gosh.
and the sad thing is, FHA is very explicit about what they're looking for, okay, on their loans, as with any loans. But at the end of the day, you have institutions that go back in and they layer requirements. It's just like peeling an onion, you have the inside that's there, you have the core, but then you have these institutions that you don't meet the market. Point of fact, so many people, not so many, I don't want to say that, but when it comes to Black people, and I do believe there's only one race, and that's the human race. So let me just put that out there. So, but when we're challenged about credit. Okay, many of us do not have credit. So say like with NAACP, this is something we've been advocating for years now, with the lenders, asking them to consider what is known as quote unquote alternative credit. So yeah, alternative.
How
Most
does it
everyone
work?
have a cell phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
now let's look and see how you paying that cell phone bill,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
a lot isn't required in some instances to have a cell phone. Okay.
Mhm.
That's one way of looking at it. People may even go out and get what we call payday loans, but they pay them back.
Correct.
Right.
I don't advocate for the payday loans. No,
No,
don't
no,
misunderstand.
no.
I'd rather see you not do that.
They're
But
predatory.
but the credit is
Yes.
there, but you're not receiving any credit for it.
Yeah. Check it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I got you.
So
Understand.
we should be able to use alternative credit in order to help people achieve the American dream known as home ownership. I mean, there's no better way to build wealth than through home ownership.
Mhm.
You know, I could look at Dallas. There are homes that would have sold, let's say 20, 30 years ago in about the 50, to your point, Tanae, in neighborhoods, I'll say Black neighborhoods, Black, brown neighborhoods. Yesterday, those homes were like $50,000. And because they have suppressed that value, okay, systemic, over the years, now the same home that you would have purchased, say at 50,000 today, it may be worth 150, 200. But you take that same house in today's market and you move it across the street, okay? That same home that they value for you as a community is only worth 150. But if they take it and put it in a different community, now it's worth 400,000 and 500,000. Same home.
Mhm.
Nothing changed about the home, just the location.
Location. Yeah.
Okay. And so I was listening to what Tanae was saying, but there was a story that they showed. I want to say it was on 60 Minutes, and it was true, because it was about a Black family, and they had a home they was wanting to sell, and when the appraiser came out, the appraiser said, I'll just give it a number. Let's say your home is worth 200,000. But they knew that their home was worth more.
Correct.
They knew that. They
Had
engaged some of their
white
friends,
friends that was
white
white.
friends,
Correct.
exactly, to come in, stage their home to make it look as if though they
They
lived
lived
there. And voila, just like that, the value went up.
Correct.
Well, the house didn't change. The structure of the home didn't change. Even the location didn't change. That's why it's so important. I have to throw this in here because we are in voting season here in Texas for sure. We're doing our primary. Our primary started February 14th and it ends February 25th, with the election actually taking place on March 1. That having been said, it is so important. We cannot go to sleep. We have got to vote, and we have got to vote for people that people that have a belief system that I think first we got to start with. If it were my question, I say, do you believe in God? Because that's who I reference to as God. But now, do you believe in the higher power? Just tell me, do you believe in one? Because some of these things that happen, like, to me, it's a no-brainer. Why is it that every 20 years we are at the same little juncture of trying to establish the right to vote?
No, but I have a question.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
because I've just some pushback. Do you think voting is obsolete now? like the idea of voting as far as the Black community is concerned, because and the reason why I say that, I'm not saying it to be facetious or anything like that. I'm saying it because from a historical standpoint, Black people as a whole, we receive entirely our right to vote in 1965, okay, with the passage of the Voting Rights Act. However, the time period where we had a lot of upward mobility and things that were happening was a time period where we were not able to vote. And that was the period right after the Civil War up until 1900s. So during that time period, you have most of our historically Black colleges or HBCUs being built. You had several Black Wall Streets being built throughout the South. One of the most notable one was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They had Black Wall Streets in areas of Houston, Texas, as well as Wilmington, North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina. So, and you had different places where they had their Black Wall Streets. Now, this is the time period where voting was not even, thought of. But now we have voting, and I see that we seem to be stuck in the mud and saying, let's vote, let's vote. And all my life, it was, they come up with a new slogan, rock the vote, vote or die, and different ones. And I'm like, it seems like we're in the same predicament. And that's why I'm saying that. I'm not saying, facetious. So now, if that's a person that's very young and saying, okay, why should I go out and vote? Because it seems like nothing changed. What would be your response to that?
Well, to the person that doesn't go and vote, I would say, then you don't have the right to complain. That's the first thing I would say. I think the vote is very important, and it's important if for no more than I think about the Fannie Lou's of the world, or if I think about the Rosa Parks of the world, or the Medgar Eggers of the world, or the Dr. Martin Luther Kings of the world, because so much was given for us to have that right to vote. I think progress has been made. I just feel like we still have a ways to go as it relates to that. What causes something to go on the books? Okay, what allows a law to become law? It requires a vote. Mm-hmm. And so the very moment you give up, you become empathetic about it, or you have apathy about voting, that's the very time we lose. See, before, in the periods in which you've mentioned, when we did not have those rights, but what we did have, we had unity. We had more unity as a people, okay? We had determination as a people, and we were working to achieve a common goal. And so when you think about our parents, foreparents, how they would come together and make a meal, if you will. I might grow the cows and you grow the greens, and then you give me some of your greens and I give you some of my cows, and guess what? Now we have a meal. That's what we had back then during the period. Okay. And so now we have progressed. Things have changed. Yes, back to what you just said about voting. White men were able to vote when they were 21, long as they owned property, as early as 1776, if my memory serves me correctly. And then white women were given the rights to vote as early as 1920. 20 to 65. It took us 45 years after that. Well, if all men are created equally, why are not all men able to vote equally? It can't be good for one side and not good for the other.
I agree with you. If I can interject something here,
Sure.
we could talk about voting, and we can talk about, a lot of nowadays, the people like to march. They want to be a part of it. Let's go down with our signs and we're going to protest. You got a lot of protesting, but they don't know the legislative process. They don't even know how to pass it, but they don't even know how it starts. So the educating that part, I know what you're saying, Big O, like, okay, does voting really work? Where are we? You can go out and vote, but do you even know you're voting for? You don't even look and see who's on the ballot. They go like, he black. That name sound good. I work the polls every year, you know, and I had to check myself, honestly, because I was like, I would work the polls and I would get a little paid, little money or whatever for working the polls and going out there. But I didn't know what everybody stood for who was on the ballot. You know, I didn't know all the causes. I didn't know what they were for. And then, you know, I'm a part of Delta Sigma Theta, and a part of that is getting it out to the community to teach the young people about voting. We just had, you know, a thing here just last week about it, you know, at our courthouse here. I mean, not our courthouse here, at our Capitol here. And it starts with the kids. Like, they need to know what you're even talking about. So people are voting for what? They don't even know. They want to vote because you're supposed to do it. But are we teaching them that? And I think it's on the responsibility of, and I'm going to say just, you know, not just in our culture, but, you know, like groups such as the NAACP, you know what I mean? Going into the schools and bringing them out and things like that. So for me, you got to know, you got to even know the process. I'm going to go the process. So what am I going to, I'm just going to vote because you told me to. I don't know what I'm voting for. I don't know who I'm voting for. You don't see anybody like me even on the legislative floor to even pass the bill to say I agree or I don't, yea or nay. So that's where we're lacking. To me, we're not represented in that. Do you know why? Big O?
Yeah.
Big
Oh,
O?
I have. Yes. Now watch this.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw you.
Give me
another
something.
one.
Where you at
Okay.
with it? Are you?
Oh,
Did
no,
you
no, no,
break
no.
it down? Hey,
Come
Tanae,
on.
he gonna
Listen.
break it down. Critical breakdown here.
Absolutely. Now, for me,
Okay.
it's totally different because I looked at it from a historic standpoint. And then
Okay.
keeping on the same prism, we wrap circles around the Asian community when it pertains to voting. However, they have more power in legislation than we ever had. And now I don't understand why our main focus would be on voting, because this is only Mr. Omar, okay? Big O. Not cross
Big O.
bars, not where I work, not
All
anything.
right, make that disclaimer.
Making sure. I think when voting happened, we actually knocked the teeth out of our economic base, because then we start voting about things and we stop caring about community. Whereas we voted into a hood. And what happened is that, and I pointed to the Asian community because they have a percentage of, like, maybe, what was it? Last time I checked was like 8%, 8 to 10%, and it went up. It used to be at 3 to 5, you know, and that's where they vote because their focus has been on economics, and they have the lowest unemployment rate in the country. So now yes, and they have, you know, you're not going to find an Asian person unemployed in welfare lines, because
and you're gonna find them working for themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
So now,
Exactly.
we gotta stay on the point. So now they did not put their all their eggs, the majority of the eggs in voting. They said, no, we're going to focus on economic. We're going to start a business. Okay. We're going to have our own community. We're going to hire people who look like us. We're going to support each other. We're going to circulate our dollars. And that's where their focus has been. And now you saw that right there. Our friend Joe, our friend Joe Biden, he actually placed the Asian hate bill, but he was going to every black, you know, newscaster, said, I'm gonna bring a black woman on and pander into that black vote. But when it was time to pass legislation, he said, nah, we're gonna move you out the way, and we're gonna go and make sure that this Asian group is protected. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the last time I seen an Asian person be shot down in the street by a government official, or had been kneeled upon on camera by a government official, and yet and still they get legislation passed within, you know, months of his, you know, appointment. Right. But yet and still we're still at the table trying to get scraps. So now I ask you guys, this voting is doing what again? Because we have an example in front of us, which is the Asian community. We have a model which they actually set forth, and I believe this one scholar we've heard about, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois said, you know, if we actually put our faith in the Democrats or the Republicans, paid us damn fools, because they have none of our best interests at heart. So I am not speaking from Omar. I'm speaking from history and statistics. So y'all have the floor and answer those issues that I actually put on the floor per se.
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: money talks
All day. All day. All day.
Yeah.
But that's where focus should be versus voting.
It should be. But where is it? Like you said, the template. Oh, her phone died.
Like, I don't want to talk to that. Yeah. Okay, Doc. Okay, Sharon. Now, that was an auspicious time for your phone to go. Like, I don't like what he said. I said, she hung up on me. I said, all right. Oh, she ain't hang up on me. I ain't do. Come on. I said, oh man.
He was like, she shut me down.
She shut me down. Like, oh no, you disrespect me. Get out of here. Just banged on me.
It's doing weird things over here.
Okay.
All right. But I dialed in from my phone this time because for whatever reason my computer just went.
Yeah.
Didn't like my answer.
Okay.
But,
I was hoping we're gonna keep it going though. Just repeat the last question. Oh, yeah.
Money talks.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying. And so, we've been asking we as a people about the 40 M's. About the 40 acres and a million reparations, if you will. Now, when I look at the Asians, at least here in Dallas, a good many of them that come here, they receive monies to come here.
Absolutely. From the government and entities.
So
absolutely.
They're already one up on us.
I'm not giving that. They do not have enough.
He's not giving them.
They do not have enough of their population in communities. They target ours and we support them.
Of course we do with hair.
Yeah, we support them in all different facts. Oh no, not just hair. You can go to dry cleaners. They're cornering markets. Dry cleaners, the Korean, you can talk about hair and beauty supply. Okay, and then you start looking at fish markets as well.
Hey, it sounds like you're like underwater.
Yeah, you sound like that.
Oh, that's me. Okay, hold up. Okay.
Now we all better.
We're all better. So now, getting back to our conversation, it's all about the money. We know it. We know that different populations, they come into our community and get support. And sometimes we don't support our own community and businesses. And even when we do, it seems like we want the hookup. Like, all right, you got a t-shirt business. Man, come on, give me some. You don't go to Gucci and ask for, a hookup.
Say that.
Going to a restaurant, that corner and that floor right there is a little dirty. I don't see you going to anybody else's establishment. That corner store floor look, that bodega, that Chinese store, restaurant looks a mess. You don't go in there. I'm not getting my stuff here because that corner over there. But when we come to ours, it got to be spectacular. We holding ourselves to a standard, at one point that we're not holding everyone else to. And I'm like, some of these things aren't fair. And I'm bringing these things up because, when I was younger, I came up through, the 80s and 90s, and they had a promotion, just say no. Ronald Reagan, just say no. I was like, all right, yeah, cool. And it seems like at the same time, it felt like everyone was engaged, but it was like every drug in the world seemed like it got pushed into our neighborhood during the time of the just say no. And now I hear, hey, vote. If you want to make change, vote. And it's like, okay, I seen a t-shirt and it had, different names. Okay. Amadou Diallo. People may not be aware. The young man that was gunned down in New York City around the time, I think it was 1999 or 2000. Then it had his name crossed out. Then it had Sean Bell, You know, that was around 2002, 2003. His name crossed out. Then later on, it had Trayvon Martin, it had Tamir Rice, you know, and then it had, you know, Mike Brown, and they had the names of like all these people who were Eric Gardner, people who were murdered by law enforcement, right? And then it had a question mark at the bottom, like, you know, you next. And to me, it's like, okay, I started with Amadou Diallo, that was around in the late 90s. And then all throughout, we can point to injustice. There was, you know, things that's been in the news right now happening in a New Jersey mall, whereas two teens were, you know, having an altercation, but you seen the white young man was more of the aggressor from the video, from the initial you know, conversation. So it seems like he was more of the aggressor. And then it just jumped into a fight, and you saw the response from the two officers was, all right, we're going to get the black kid, put him in cuffs, kneel on him, and then have the other kid just sit over there. But, you know, from the video, it didn't have the officers in a positive light. So for me, I'm like, okay, for the Asian bill to be passed, and then I can just look and see that this is still going on. And these people are pandering to our vote, but we can't get these crimes. And then people actually start, you know, putting some teeth behind it. Because even when, you know, our, as I like to say, the black people's champion, Barack Obama, our former president, I was like, okay, you're going to start, you know, putting federal indictments on these departments that have these things, because you have the mandate to do this. You know, you federally indict blocks that are corrupt with drugs, but you can see this systemic racism that was happening in what was it, in Missouri, in the outskirts of St. Louis, where they were intentionally stopping people of color and basically using them to fund the suburbs around by, you know, just giving them arbitrarily fines and exorbitant fines as well. And it's like, wait a minute, why are you stopping all these? And then you saw the neighborhoods around, and they had the facilities, and it's like, okay, the police are doing this and actually funding those suburbs. So it's almost like, if you come through this suburb, we're going to find you. So basically, what we call it, black tax. And I'm like, all right, I know about this. I'm not fairly old, but the tactic of let's go vote because we're going to change things. And I'm like, all right, I've been for 30 years, I've been an adult, you know, for 30 years, got out of college, then I could point to these things and it's not matching up. And I don't like older people. I never try to disrespect them. I try to make sure that I'm clear on what I'm saying, because their perspective on voting, I know it may be different because of what they had to go through to gain it. So I can't hear young and somebody says, you know, like, boy, people had to die. And I'm like, I know, I'm not disrespected. I don't want to fight, because, you know, they get on your, like, well, you better go out and fight. People had to die. People marched and this. And I'm like, no. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying don't vote. I don't think that should be the priority. I think economic empowerment, I like what's going on with people talking about stocks, bonds, and housing, real estate. I like that. And I want to say, let's push that in the front to get our economic.
We got to get people to do it. We got to get people visible to do it. We can say it, but there's nobody doing it. You got to put the people in the position.
It's just like any business, you got to promote it. So, but we've always promoted.
We all have to promote it. Like, we're relying. Are you relying on a people or an organization? Like, we all have to promote it.
I'm not denying that, but let's look at it from another perspective, because it's real sinister, you know, and that's what I mean. Because I'm not saying this from a standpoint of, okay, I see what's wrong and pointing them out, and I'm saying, okay, I think I have a solution that may not be as popular, but I think it works. And look at the people who are doing it. They're using this model. Jake to the day, I don't know. Okay. Okay, so she'll be back. So now, Sharon, So when we start looking at these things, I know like the history of the NAACP, you know, with Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, and you know how it started as the need of saying, okay, we need a organization that's going to push the Black agenda. And there was a time where people didn't even say, like, I'm real upset, you know, where during the Clinton administration, Bush 2 administration, and then Obama administration, where people were saying, there's no Black agenda. And I was like, yeah, there is. There is. Why would that narrative be out there, number one? And then number two, why does it seem like it's handouts for us, but for everyone else, it's endowments, you know, these other, as what would they call when they give those gifts? It's not entitled, as I would like to say, we're going to push funding in these organizations, in these areas, and these companies, these companies, got you. These companies are helping us out, all right? But we got to stop there, and I got to allow you to talk about everything I just said, number one, so you respond and tell me off. That's first and foremost, and then you got to tell me about the NAACP and the NAACP role in, you know, in this 21st century, getting young people involved, and what is the mission of the NAACP in this new time and age.
Okay, very good. Well, I think the NAACP again is a forerunner. We've been around. In fact, we just celebrated 113 years of being in existence since 1909. So, but our mission remains the same because together with more than 2 million activists across the country, we work to ensure that the political, educational, social, as well as economic equality of rights of all persons, and to eliminate racial hatred as well as racial discrimination. So NAACP, we do play an important role when it comes to education even to the voters. We do not endorse, the NAACP does not endorse candidates. However, we do try and take the issues, put the issues out here for the community, as well as work with other, in partnership with other organizations such as League of Women Voters, so that we can, let's see, the Poor People's Campaign, the Divine Nine, if you will. So we work, oh, Tanae, you missed that. I think she said she was like, Delta.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I heard you, Divine Nine. I was in there. This I was about to whoop, but I was trying to get my little thing going on here. Technical difficulties today. This is awful.
I understand, but we are working, we being the NAACP, to bring in and to educate not just the youth, but it's important that we reach the youth, our Generation X, if you will, the millennials. Unfortunately, for me, when I look at the generations that I've been blessed to deal with, okay, then we have the millennials and we have the Gen X's. In my opinion, I feel that sometimes they want immediate gratification.
They do.
I also feel
Microwave babies.
Yeah, that's exactly what I call them.
They call us millennials now.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know what? I have come to appreciate them in such a time as this, because I think it takes all people working together for a common good and a common cause. And I think certain people bring certain skills and resources to situations. Point in fact, if you mentioned former President Barack Obama, you know, we as a people showed up in record numbers, wheelchairs, walkers, you name it. We were there,
Mhm.
you know, to vote for him, because in many of our people of age, they didn't think they would ever see that day
Correct.
come to fruition. Okay. So then we voted, be it emotional, out of emotions, what we felt and thought about, as well as seeing a country move forward, because a country that now has allowed a Black man to be president. Most people would consider that to be progress. And I myself
It's
consider it
progress.
progress, okay? Because we know for over 2,000 plus years, we have not seen that. So that having been said, a president is only but one person, and it's only but so much that a president can do in and of him or herself. I do know that it requires a working together along both sides of the aisle. Now, we as a people, we didn't come into this being Democrats. We started out being Republicans,
Republicans.
quiet as it's kept, until we felt like they did us wrong. Well, we're gonna go over here now and be with the Democrats. We do know that Democrats do tend to vote along social, if you will, social policies, as well as civic justices, if you will. Okay. Republicans come at us from a different angle. And I'll just have to leave that angle up to them, because again, I'm lost as to why we're going to have to go through this again to have a permanent place in legislature as it relates to voting. I don't understand why we still keep having to come back to this every 20 years. And you know, we never even touched on CRT, the critical race theory. You know, now we hear more and more about the STEM, being the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Well, who knew math any better than who built the pyramids?
African.
Come on,
Say
now.
it, Forrest.
Who built the pyramids? And you know, if you look at the pyramids and you see how high it go to the, it's mind-boggling. How and what type of scaffold did they use? You understand what I'm saying? But they knew to do this. Back to the Wall Street. Again, it was a camaraderie. It was a unity. It was a people that came together, that saw the need, that created something better for all. And I believe, my opinion, I don't know of any other ethnicity that people are more inferior to than those that have been blessed by ebony hue. Just to look at us. They, you know, Dr. King says someday a man, we shall be judged by the character, by our character and our content, more so than by the color of our skin. Now, if I just take my skin and just paint it a different color, I guarantee you, things will be a little bit different. They will be a little bit different, Big O. Back to your point, but I think it's important that we engage not only our youth, our millennial, what have you, Gen X, they all have to be engaged. We have to work toward a common goal. And I do believe that the vote is a powerful tool. And if it wasn't so powerful, I don't think every 20 years is something that we'd have to revisit. And so if we think nothing else about voting, let's just look at it from that standpoint.
Right.
It's powerful. It's powerful. You know, when you think about the public vote versus electorate vote. Oh, we saw what we went through with the last election. Yep. They're trying to put it over to the electorate. Why do I want someone else to tell me what I need? because you're not in my household. You don't know my house. You think you know. You have to have a hands-on. And so until we can go out, be educated, to Miss Tanae's point, be educated about the voters in which we are voting for, I should say. We need to know them beyond an election cycle. You know, it's like a saying, so what have you done for me lately? I mean, what have you actually done? You know, we have people that are saying, well, I've worked on, and I've presented policies and I've presented bills. But my question is, how many of them got passed? Versus the person over here that was working quietly behind the scene, but making things happen.
Yeah.
Ella Baker. King
So
Baker.
all I'm saying to us is this: we have to stay focused, and we have to. And what does Gambino say? Stay woke. Because one thing for sure, if you are not at the table, you definitely on the menu.
Facts.
Hey,
Bars.
bars. Say that.
So you ask, why should we vote? There you go. You know, we've come a long ways as a people, and we're not going back. We're not going back. If we can't go forward, I'd be stagnated before I go back.
Keep what I got.
Keep what I got. Hold on to what I have.
Yeah,
right.
But you can't work in silos. Okay, it takes all people working together for a common goal, a common cause, in order to achieve. I also believe that, as like with the NAACP, yes, we educate on voters' rights. You know, we work against voter suppression and oppression, if you will. Those are things that we're confronted with. Just like discrimination, we'll have that to the day we die, and there's no one else here. There'll always be some form of discrimination until KROSS BARZ get in our minds, tear it down, give us another way to look at it, and then put us back together, and we are a better person, people for
Speak
that.
it, Dr. Middlebrooks.
That hasn't been said. We are educating. We work on economic development, and not for the individual, but for the people. But again, we can't do this in silos. We are stronger in unity.
All right.
And we must elect people that line up with our way of thinking that is for us, and not just for us to become elected. See, I said something earlier about pulling a person's credit. And when we look at the credit, quote unquote, is supposed to tell us your history, how you pay, when you pay, are you going to pay? Well, same thing in terms of going out here electing officials. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to have served in a position. Don't look at them like that, but you better look at what do they really offer. And there's a core
like that
to each of us. There's a core being to each of us. So whether we've ever been elected for an office or not, look at the core of the person. Look at the man and the woman. It doesn't matter what color skin he or she is in. What matters is what they stand for. And what do they do when no one's looking? That's what counts.
Yes.
I didn't mean
Amen.
You know.
Amen. Woo! I think that's a pass the plate right there. She got a little head. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love that, you know, what you're saying. It is time or past time for some transformational leadership. It doesn't matter. Like you're saying, if you serve, I really like that point that you made about, you know, I might not have been on the letter. I might not have been, you know, on the board or something, but, you know, I have integrity. I have motivation. I have, you know, sustainability, you know, to want to move, you know, things forward. So I'm definitely with you on that one. I think more people should get involved, you know, with the NAACP. It seems like a long time ago, I heard more about it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a little quieter, you know, I don't hear much about it. In college, I was involved, you know, so it would be like, you know, around the neighborhoods here. I know we have a chapter here, but I don't see them, you know, so it's like organizations like, I'm not just putting everything on the NAACP, but just organizations like that to help us bring us together. Like you said, the Divine Feminines, the Greeks and sororities and all those things. And we got to make it happen. You know, it's not going to happen until we, you know, really, like you said, put it together.
Michael Jackson said it best. Look at the man in the mirror. That's where it starts. We are who we are looking for. Until we come from in front of the mirror and take it to the streets, we'll still be looking for that man because we're who we're looking for. And everything that we need is within us. The Creator designed it just like that. Just like that, Big O. You can make a difference. You're making a difference right now, just through these waves that you guys are on. KROSS BARZ, trust me, you're making a difference. And don't count it short. And if that's what you were put here to do, you play your part until you can't play it no more. You play it to the best of your ability. And then someone else is going to go over here and play another part in a different section. And then what about when we all come together?
Absolutely. And
absolutely, Big O.
I know that you have another engagement to go to, and it's been an awesome conversation. I like to say.
Absolutely.
All right, it's been an awesome conversation, and thank you for your time. But do you have a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram account that you would like to promote so people can see your brokerage? Because I know you're still making money. So
I am, but I'm here on KROSS BARZ today talking about my NAA and CP. That's who I need people to be. Yeah. I need you, no matter what city, state you're in, find your NAACP and go and support. Don't wait till you get in trouble or a family member get in trouble. Then you want to call the NAA and the CP to come be your save all. But what have you done? What have you done? Come back. Let's say to Jamaica. Come back to Jamaica. Come back to NAACP. Come back home because there's plenty of work to be done. The work, what it say, like the laborers are few. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
Yeah.
We have need of you, just like the United States government. We
have a few good men. We need a few good men. That's it.
We need a few good men. And we really do. So that's what I implore anyone within your listening audience. Just click on naacp.org and become a member today. That's vital. If you would help support this organization, then the organization can help support us. Okay, amen. It takes money to run anything, and our membership is only $30. An annual membership is only $30.
Wow.
Okay, so why isn't everyone?
That's great. Say that. Me too.
Now, wait a minute. Now we do have some higher ends, starting with our silver membership, which is $750. But now it's a great time to purchase one of those because it's income tax time. That means most people get money back. So that haven't been said.
Put it on something.
Put it in the layaway. Put it in the layaway as little as $75 down on $750, and make sure you pay it $75 every year at the same time. Or as you receive extra monies, pay on it. Pay your silver, and then work towards a bronze and a gold.
Is that tax deductible? Say if you have a business and you purchase one of those, would that
membership is membership?
Okay. Would that be tax deductible as far as your business as an expense? What I'm asking.
I understand your question. I'm going to defer that to a CPA because I'm saying that. But let me tell you why I'm saying that. It's because when you have membership, you're a C4 organization versus a C3 as a nonprofit.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's why I say discuss that with your CPA. But don't let that negate your becoming a member. I can't impress upon you enough. No matter where you are, join a NAACP and make a difference. Let your voice be heard. Okay. Let your voice be heard.
All right. I love it. All right. So we're going to say that. We're going to leave out on that. Try to find your local NAACP. It's NAACP.org.
Yes. Go to NAACP.org or .com and it will populate and you can go there and say, become a member. Select become a member. Then you put in your address And it will just populate what you need to answer at that point. And then before you know it, you're a member. Just have your credit card ready, $30, and you're in.
Okay.
All right. I love, we're definitely gonna do that. Thanks again, Dr. Sharon Middlebrooks, for blessing us with your presence on KROSS BARZ. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you again, maybe later down in the year or something like that. But definitely we want to keep the connection with you. I really enjoyed the conversation. Big O, you have anything before we take it out?
No, I would like to give a shout out to everyone who's voted. Hopefully they didn't want to beat me up or throw things at their screens or monitors. All right. I say to everybody, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I do vote. However, I think that, we can have more than one thing on our plate. All right. Just like we all do. We have some meat, vegetables, we have some starch, we even have a dessert and some cornbread. All right. So just want to make sure, because sometimes you say something, it's like, all right. But make sure you go out to NAACP.org and become a member, because some people I type double and it's not coming up. So let's make sure NAACP.org. Okay. So
or .com.
.com.
Or .com.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm very thankful for the conversation, the dialogue that we had with Dr. Sharon Middlebrooks. Shout out to everyone in Tyler, Texas. And if you could, Mr. Earl Campbell, I want to speak.
That's my cousin.
No way.
Are you kidding? All right, we'll have to talk after this. Look at
I said to you earlier.
That's
I
what
said,
KROSS
you
BARZ
went
is
all the
about.
way
Let's
over
make
there.
that
You said
connection.
nothing about Earl, Tim, and Steve.
I know, my bad.
She only know a little bit. I didn't want to go into my sport, like history, sports, and music. That's me.
Okay, so look, while we're here, before I go, and I'm in Dallas now, so let me give a shout out to South Oak Cliff Golden Bears for being 5A UL championship, state championship. They bought the first championship back to Dallas, and they say 50+ years.
No,
So
Dallas
wow.
Carter won.
But you talk about a story.
Okay.
This is in a predominantly Black neighborhood. South Oak Cliff is. The school was thought of as you know what they said about Jesus. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Okay, so with South Oak Cliff, can anything good come out of there? I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Johnson, their principal, because he went in there. He changed that school, the mindset of the students within that school. So not only did they exceed and be successful on the football field, but his students academically, hear what I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's a mindset. You said it, KROSS.
It's a mindset.
That break it down. Put and then you inject something.
Yeah.
Interject something better, something positive. And now, the pride. And they didn't just do this for Oak Cliff. Okay, this is for the city. This is for the state. They did one for the state.
Gotcha.
So shout out to South Oak Cliff, Dr. Willie Fred Johnson.
All right,
And
shout out to Oak Cliff.
Yes, and Dr. Todd.
And
Dr.
But
Todd.
that's the coach. That's the coach. And it's several coaches over there. But again, it takes a village. It takes a village.
it does. It does. I love to hear that. That's awesome.
And I love the KROSS BARZ is now a part of my village. I love it. And thank you so much. If I can do anything for you, know that I'm here. I have some people.
All right.
Too.
All right. That's
Appreciate it. You can find us, KROSS BARZ, KROSS BARZ, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. Our Facebook is www.krossbarz.com. See you then. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.